What's up, guys? So, I wanted to talk to you all about something this morning that seems to be a common theme, not just in a lot of my clients, but in a lot of my friends, and even in myself. Um, and this is because we live in a society and a culture nowadays that teaches us to suppress emotions. Not like, oh, we need to tell people to suppress their emotions because we're bad people and we want people to suffer, but because genuinely the way our culture evolved, especially in the Western world, um, with how the baby boomer generation came around and then how they all of a sudden had all these kids, and then at the same time there was a big boom in psychology and counseling and what parenting was about, and so there was all this pressure put on our parents from my generation, and then therefore when they became parents there was this pressure put on them because they never learned. So guys, there's a whole lot we can look back at when it comes to like culture and society and how it's created a lot of the emotional suffering that we're having now. But by looking at that, we slip into victim mode. So this isn't really where we can do something. We can acknowledge the fact that this is where it came from, and therefore we can stop blaming ourselves for it because none of us knew any better. We were all still trying to figure it out. So in that way, there is something we can do there. We can release the blame. We can release the guilt. None of us did anything wrong. We were all doing the best that we knew to do. But because of the way that history happened and the way that culture and society was developing at the same time that history was happening, and babies were being born, a generation was created, and the way that generation was raised was also created because of what was going on in the world at the time and what was being taught to parents at the time. So here we are. And here we are as a generation now that is really suffering from not understanding our emotions. We have a very limited emotional vocabulary because most of our life we've been taught that there are good and bad emotions. And the bad emotions we don't want to feel. So if you're feeling them, there's something wrong with you or you're a bad person. And the objective is to get rid of that emotion as soon as possible so that you can be a good person. Because the less you experience that emotion, the better you are. And this is such a mistake because all of our emotions serve a purpose. That's a whole nother topic to get into. We're not going to talk about that today, but trust me when I say every emotion that you experience serves a purpose. You need to experience it. But here's where we get confused, is that what we perceive as experiencing an emotion is not experiencing an emotion. It's resisting that emotion. We experience this huge like emotional burst of response, and like because we're so used to pushing down on the emotion. No, don't feel it, it's bad, it's bad, that it finally just explodes. And it's kind of like this there's an image or an analogy I can give you. It's like having a beach ball and holding it under the water. Guys, no matter how long you hold that beach ball under the water, it still has to come up to the surface eventually. And the longer you hold it underwater, the more tired you get, and the less easily you can let it up to the surface. So the longer you hold it down, the more forceful it's going to come up out of the water and explode to the surface. Because you will not be able to release it slower up to the surface and just let it be. Let it be where it wants to be, which is on the surface, which is where your emotions are supposed to be. But guys, when I say your emotions are supposed to be on the surface, that doesn't mean that we're supposed to be these emotionally reactive, dramatic people. That's not experiencing your emotions. That's what happens when you resist an emotion and you don't allow yourself to experience it. And therefore that emotion festers under the surface until it has to come out in some way. And so here's what I want to talk about. I have so many people that tell me they know that they are buffering their emotions away with alcohol, food, television, pornography, the internet, reading. The list can go on and on. Exercise. So many different ways we can buffer our emotions away in the 21st century. We live in a time where there are buffers available everywhere that you turn 24/7. And a lot of people are very aware that they are buffering their emotions. They're very aware that there are things below the surface that need to be dealt with, but they don't want to deal with them. And the reason they don't want to deal with them is because they are afraid if they dive into those emotions, if they dive into those experiences and let those emotions that have been trapped under the surface for so long out, that they're going to be trapped in the drama of them and they're going to get sucked into them and not be able to get back out. And they live in this idea that if I let these emotions out, they are going to take over me and I'm not going to be able to have control of my life anymore. Guys, this is another illusion, because guess what? Those emotions already have control of your life. You're already sucked into them. You're already in the drama of them. Every time you experience one of these huge emotional outbursts, because you've been holding these emotions down, guys, every time you feel one of these outbursts where you feel like the emotional response was far too big for what actually happened, it is a signal to you that there are emotions, there are experiences, there are traumas in your past that you have not dealt with. Those are your sign that they are there, festering underneath the surface and exploding out any chance that they have. But guys, feeling an emotion isn't like that. Experiencing an emotion is not like that. What you're experiencing when that happens is resistance of an emotion. Resisting until the point that you can't resist it anymore. So what I want to offer is that there is a way to experience the emotions as they come up that is not dramatic. It's not inconvenient. It's called self-love and self-care, and it's called growing. When you experience an emotion, you find out what's underneath it. You find out the message that was driving that emotion. You find out the lesson that can be learned from that emotion so that you grow as a person. And we learn such a bigger emotional vocabulary once we start allowing ourselves to experience our emotions. I talk to clients all of the time and ask, so what are you feeling? A lot of times they're like, I don't know. The ones that do try and tell me what they're feeling, it's usually like, I feel mad, I feel angry, I feel sad, I feel annoyed, And it's not that these aren't emotions, but guys, we have such a huge spectrum of emotions that we are able to experience, and we don't even know what they are because we've never named them, because we're so busy resisting them, because they're so inconvenient to deal with, because our idea of experiencing an emotion is this explosion of emotion that comes from resisting the emotion. So we keep resisting them, and we never learn what our emotions actually are. So we never learn what they're there for. We never learn how to experience and ride out the emotion and learn the lesson on the other side and feel the emotion and know what it is. And then at the same time, by doing this resistance, we create this fear of the emotions, and we create this fear of allowing the emotion to exist, allowing the emotion to be experienced, and we convince ourselves of this story that if I go back and deal with these emotions, if I go back and deal with these stories of my past that I'm telling myself, if I go back and release the trauma from my past by letting go of the guilt of the fact that I could have done anything different. If I go back and I deal with that, I'm going to get sucked into those emotions and the drama of it, and I'm never going to come back out. Guys, you're already doing that. You're already in it. You're suffering right now. You're in that drama right now. You're resisting that emotion on a daily basis and experiencing these explosive responses to the emotions versus experiencing the emotion itself. And guys, that is the drama. So what you're fearing, you're already living. So what I want to offer is that going back and doing this work and spending time with those emotions to understand them, taking time to go back to your history, your story that you're telling yourself, the trauma that's there, and releasing the guilt, releasing the blame, releasing the emotions that are there with those stories, and then creating a new story. If you're afraid of doing that because you're afraid of getting sucked into the emotion, you're already sucked into the emotion. Because that fear that you're experiencing, that's being sucked into the emotion. You are literally living your emotions that you're trying to not live on a daily basis because you refuse to allow yourself to look at them for what they are and experiencing them. So I know that you believe that somehow you are staying away from the drama, staying away from being sucked into those emotions, staying away from living those emotions, but you're not. You're living them every day. Every time you're in traffic and someone cuts you off and you explode with anger. Every time someone at your work does something that's kind of annoying and you just get all outraged and you feel angry for the rest of the day, or explode with nasty words, or every time you explode at a sibling or your parents or a friend of yours, or every time you do something that and when you look back at it, you're like, why did I respond that way? You know why you responded that way? It's because you're resisting the emotions from your past as well as the present emotions, because you're afraid to experiencing them. You're afraid to experience them. And you're afraid to experience them because you're afraid of being in the drama of them, but you're already doing it. So guys, what I want to offer is, if you're afraid to dive into your past and deal with the emotions that you've been resisting, if you're afraid to let the emotions that you're currently experiencing be fully experienced, let me offer you the peace of knowing that the drama you're afraid of experiencing is coming from not experiencing those. You're already living that drama. So you can let go of that. It's kind of like what I was talking about last week when I was telling you guys that A lot of times we're afraid to create our own beliefs because we're afraid of being delusional. You're already delusional. Those beliefs are not truth. We create our belief systems because we need a way to function in the world. But guess what? Every belief system that you have, there are millions of people in the world that disagree with it. While there are millions of people that agree with it, there are also millions that disagree with it. So if you're afraid of creating a belief because you're afraid that millions of people will disagree with it and afraid of appearing delusional, you're already living beliefs that millions of people disagree with and millions of people think you're delusional for having. So why not create the beliefs that support you, that create the life you want? It's the same with experiencing your emotions. You're afraid to experience them because you're afraid of living in the drama of them. But because you're afraid to experience them, you are living in the drama of them. Because emotions aren't dramatic. They aren't. They're beautiful. If you experience an emotion, it's like what I tell my clients. Every emotion is like a spotlight. It's there to show you something. There's a message there that you're hiding from yourself. There's something about yourself that you're not recognizing, that wants to be recognized. There's a part of you that wants to grow that you're afraid to look at. There's a part of you that wants help that you're afraid to look at. And those emotions are there as a spotlight to say, hey, over here, look over here, look at that. This is what we want you to pay attention to right now. This is where you have power to do work. Instead of resisting, and living in all of this suffering and telling yourself that this is how life has to be. It doesn't have to be that way. You can experience every emotion. And guess what? Guys, once you allow yourself to believe that, once you start allowing yourself to experience these emotions and realizing it's just an emotion, it can't kill you. It's like a wave. You just ride it and it goes. It comes, it's intense, and then it goes. But guys, the more you allow yourself to experience those emotions, the more you allow yourself to name those emotions and give them a name, give them breath, give them space to be what they are, the less fear you have of experiencing them. And guys, the freedom comes when you realize I am able and I am willing and I will purposefully go into every emotion because I am not afraid to experience it. It's not going to kill me. It's not bad. It's there to show me something, and I'm not afraid to see what it's there to show me. That's true freedom, that's true power, and that's true ownership and creation of life right there. Once you are willing and able to step into your life and say, come at me, because whatever emotion comes, it's only an emotion, and I am willing to experience every one of them, because they're not there to hurt me. They don't want to hurt you, they want to show you something. So, guys, this is one of these huge topics, so deep. It's one of these topics that can be so confusing. So if you're confused by this, don't get frustrated. Don't get angry with yourself and blame yourself for not understanding this topic. It's something that so many people are struggling with. So if you're struggling, you're not alone. You're not weird. You're not broken. So many of us struggle with understanding the concept of our emotions and how to experience them and how to deal with our past histories and stories that we're telling ourselves and the emotions attached to them. It's a struggle for everyone. You are not alone in that. You're not broken for that being a struggle. Reach out, ask for some help. Asking for help doesn't mean there's something wrong with you. Asking for help is basically saying, I know that there's something here that I need to work on, and I don't know how, but I want to know how. Please show me how. And guys, that's what I'm here for. I'm not here to put blame on you. I'm not here to make you feel bad about yourself. You can ask any one of my clients that has worked with me as a coach. I don't blame any one of my coaching clients for what they're experiencing, but I show them how they are responsible for what they're experiencing. Responsible isn't blame. Responsible equals ability to respond. Responsibility gives you power. It doesn't give you blame and guilt. That's something totally else. That's something completely different than responsibility. Responsibility shows you where this is what's happening and this is how I have the ability to take control and respond to it. That's responsibility. That's what I show my clients. I show them where their power and their responsibility is in what they're living on a daily basis. So if this is something that resonates with you and you want to work on it, reach out to me. That's what I'm here for. If this is something that you're like, oh my God, this is so confusing. What's wrong with me? Why don't I get it? Why does this seem so weird to me? Why does this guy seem crazy talking to me? You can also believe I'm crazy. That's also okay. I know that plenty of people do. I'm not delusional in the fact that I think that nobody thinks that I'm wrong or crazy. I get that there are plenty of other belief systems out there. But guys, if this is something that resonates with you, if this is something that you're questioning, if this is something you're like, that actually sounds a little bit truthful. Maybe that's something I need to look into. Reach out. It's what I'm here for. This is why I do this. And this is why I'm here. This is why I make these videos. I don't make these videos. Sorry, my Mega Boom just turned off there. I don't make these videos because I think the videos are going to solve all of the problems. Some people, it might. Some people, all they need is to hear a little video like this, and it like triggers the response that they need to take ownership of what they're going through. But what I've noticed is that a lot of people today that are my age, a little bit younger, a little bit older, or even a lot younger, or quite a bit older, we're all suffering with the same thing, and that's the fact that we don't know how to experience our emotions. We don't even know what our emotions are. I really, that's where I want to help. That's where I want to show people that they have power, they have the ability to take control. Because it's something that I've been working on with myself for so long. And I'm not saying I've got it perfect, but it's something that I have experience with. It's something I can give you the tools. I can show you where you have the power to do this yourself and take the steering wheel back into your hands in your life. So again, if this resonates with you, if it brings up a question mark, if it brings up a little bit of frustration, guess what? That frustration is, it's an emotion, and that's a spotlight. That frustration is there to show you something. There's something here that you're not dealing with. So if you feel frustrated, if you feel angry, if you feel an emotional response to what I'm saying, there's probably something here that you need to explore. And if I can help you do that, please reach out. That's what I'm here for. But what the big message that I want you to take today, if you are afraid to deal with your emotions because you're afraid of getting sucked into them, afraid of living a dramatic life or getting sucked into the drama of your emotions, if that's what you're thinking, you're already living that drama. You're already sucked in. You're already in there. Because that feeling you're living with every day, that fear, that anxiety, that resistance, that explosive emotional response that you have to these small things that are happening in your life that you then end up using to create guilt, and then you live in that guilt, that's the drama. That's getting sucked into the emotion. You won't get sucked into them if you just allow them to have their space to experience them. So, release that fear, release that guilt, and let's start processing the emotions that we have now and the ones that we've been resisting for so long. Let's let them to the surface, guys. That beach ball has got to come up. It's going to explode to the surface eventually. The longer you hold it down, the worse that explosion is going to be. So, and how it's going to explode into your life, you do have some power over that. And I made a post earlier about how the body's immune system responds to cancer cells on a daily basis. Resistance of emotions is a stress that causes your body to have a harder time dealing with cells that could be cancerous in your body, dealing with diseases, autoimmune diseases. You know, the stress that you are creating by resisting these emotions affects your body's ability to create and to fix these autoimmune disorders, these cancer cells that are existing in your body, this energy that's existing in your body, your depression, your anxiety, all of that. Guys, I'm not saying that it doesn't have a physical aspect to it, but you would be surprised at how much it also has an emotional aspect to it, and how much your resistance to experiencing your emotions is playing into the suffering that's coming not only in your emotions, but in how your body physically feels. So guys, stop lying to yourself. Stop telling yourself, I'm doing myself a favor by not dealing with my trauma, not dealing with my stories, not dealing with my emotions. You're not doing yourself a favor. And you're not staying out of the drama of those emotions. You're living it on a daily basis. So you're living your worst fear now. You might as well let it to the surface, let it out, and start creating the life that you want. So that's what I have for you today. I hope you have some questions. I hope you have some thoughts, comments, loves, likes, hates. Laugh at me, think I'm crazy. That's also okay. All of this is okay. But please respond to the video. If you're connecting to this in some way, positively, negatively, in any way, if you're connecting to this and feeling a response, there's a reason why there. Explore it. And leave comments. I don't care what they are. Leave your comments, leave your questions. And I look forward to seeing what you guys have to say. And I also look forward to anybody who hears this video and reaches out and asks for my help. It's what I'm here for. It's what I do. Whatever story it is that you're telling yourself is the reason why you can't reach out for my help, let go of that story. Let it go. Let it go. I'm here and I want to help. So you guys have a great Tuesday, and I will talk to you all soon. Ciao.